Hi, I'm Sterling Johnson. In this section, we want to talk about the next steps for RAP research. When you think of Alzheimer's disease, you may be thinking of someone you know who has the dementia stage of Alzheimer's disease. This is the stage where symptoms are most manifest and where the person no longer has the ability to do the things that they used to do. But this disease begins many years before the first symptoms ever show up. On average, it's about 20 years before symptoms, but for some it may be fewer years and others more years. How do we know this? It's because of imaging and CSF or spinal fluid biomarkers. In one of the other videos in this series, Dr. Toby Bedhauser explained how we can estimate when amyloid plaques start building up in the brain. In this slide, we see an MRI on the left. This is a scan that helps us understand how much vascular disease a person might have, which often makes Alzheimer's worse or occur faster than it normally would. MRI also helps us understand the amount of atrophy or degeneration that the brain has had. But it doesn't tell us anything specific about Alzheimer's. The scan in the middle is an amyloid plaque scan. And the amyloid protein is one of the proteins that build up in Alzheimer's disease. And this is one of the major culprits, and it's the first thing to happen in Alzheimer's disease. And the scan on the right is a tangle scan or a tau protein scan. And these proteins build up in very characteristic ways to help us understand what stage of Alzheimer's disease a person might be in. The RAP study now has funding to collect these brain scans on everyone who is willing and eligible to do these types of scans, and this is a major focus for us right now. Based on what we've learned so far, we estimate that about 25% of RAP participants may have amyloid in their brain. By knowing which of you has plaques and tangles, we can cross-check that with the medical history and the lifestyle and health information that you've provided over the years. We can understand how health habits, your genetics, and other information you provided might confer some resilience or make a person more at risk for developing these pathologies in their brain and also developing cognitive decline. If we haven't talked to you already about having one of these scans, or having this series of scans, I should say, we would like to talk to you about that, and we would like to invite you to consider participating in these kinds of brain scans. And so at the next opportunity to talk with you, we would like to explain these procedures to you, and hope you will consider doing these kinds of brain scans. We can also get very similar information from the spinal fluid donation using a procedure called a lumbar puncture. And we have a video later on that explains what the lumbar puncture is and why it's so important. Now I want to take a minute to talk about resilience. What makes a person resilient to Alzheimer's disease? Well, what do I mean by this? Resilience in this case means maintaining cognitive abilities for longer, being cognitively normal for longer, even if you have plaques and tangles building up in your brain. To know what makes a person resilient to Alzheimer's disease, we first need to know if a person has Alzheimer's disease. As I said, about 75% of RAP participants won't have Alzheimer's disease in their future, but some will, and we need to know who those people are so that we can study what it is about them that will help confer resilience to future cognitive decline. And another thing that RAP has discovered is that by having an amyloid scan, we can determine when that amyloid began happening in the brain, when it started building up. This is a key thing to understanding resilience. We have to know when the disease started in order to know if we are effectively postponing any cognitive symptoms. So postponing Alzheimer's symptoms is a way of thinking about prevention. It's a way of thinking about resilience. And we want to know if there's certain lifestyle or health habits or genetics that help RAP participants who may have Alzheimer's disease proteins building up in their brain live symptom-free for longer. That's a major goal of our study. One of the barriers or concerns people have about these kinds of brain scans and biomarkers is what RAP researchers are doing with this information. Our goal is to ultimately share this with you, with the participants who have one of these brain scans. Right now, for the MRI scans, we let you know if there's something clinically meaningful in that brain scan that would require further follow-up care, like if there was a tumor discovered, and that will always be the case. We will do that. But the question arises, what about the amyloid brain scans? We think we have enough experience with amyloid imaging now to know who has amyloid in their brain and who doesn't, and we think that it's now meaningful to share this information with RAP participants. And so a new study will be starting in just a few months, in September we think, in which we'll recruit some RAP participants who have completed amyloid PET scans into a study where we disclose the result of the amyloid PET scan. And one goal of this study is to develop the infrastructure at UW to support responsibly sharing amyloid PET scan results with adults who don't yet have symptoms. And this study will provide education about amyloid PET scan results, what it means, what it doesn't mean. We'll disclose the result itself to the participant of whether the amyloid scan was elevated or not elevated. And we will work with that person in developing strategies for maintaining brain health. And this disclosure study, which again will be starting very soon, will involve 3 in-person visits and 3 telephone visits. The number of in-person visits may be flexible. And if you've had an amyloid PET scan with us recently, or if that happens to be something you're willing to do in the near future, let us know, and we'd like to get you involved in this disclosure study if you'd like to know the result of that amyloid scan. Well, we've already started thinking about disclosure of amyloid PET results to RAP participants. And we've started by exploring hypothetically with some of you why being in a biomarker study would be important to you. And so this was a phone survey that about 300 participants from RAP and the Alzheimer's Research Center participated in. And we explored with individuals why they would want to be in a biomarker study and what it might mean for them. And here are some of the results of this phone survey. And people said they would be willing to do a biomarker study if it helps them know about their risk for Alzheimer's disease, if it informed how they might change their lifestyle to make healthier lifestyle choices to impact their brain health, to put their mind at ease if finding out that they didn't have amyloid was the result, to participate in a clinical trial about Alzheimer's disease, to arrange their personal affairs, and confirm feelings that or suspicions that a person may already be developing symptoms, and also personal planning with the family, and putting your financial affairs in order. So these are some of the very practical reasons people express to us that they would consider being in a biomarker study and reasons why they want to know the results. Again, we are putting this kind of knowledge now into practice and hope to begin disclosing results of the amyloid PET scans in the very near future. Well, what's the road ahead for the RAP study? In this video, we've talked a lot about biomarker participation, and we hope that you will consider the brain scans, the lumbar puncture procedure for spinal fluid donation, or both, and also participating in the disclosure study so that you may learn those results of your amyloid PET scan if that's something you want to do. Knowing who has Alzheimer's disease is so important for understanding prevention and understanding resilience to this disease. And resilience is becoming a central theme of the RAP study. Can we develop resilience through healthy brain habits, through optimal medical and lifestyle habits and behaviors? The RAP study is examining the many surveys that you've filled out on lifestyle and medical histories and social activities and cognitive activities. We're trying to integrate all of that information with the biomarker results to understand what it is that might slow down a person's cognitive decline if they happen to be on a trajectory that was causing cognitive decline, such as Alzheimer's. We have several studies that I'd like to mention here pertaining to resilience and Alzheimer's disease. One is the AA-FAME study, or African Americans Fighting Alzheimer's in Midlife. We're trying to understand the specific struggles that this community is going through and why African Americans are somewhere between 1.4 and 2 times more likely to get Alzheimer's disease than the Caucasian population. So this is an important study, and it also involves biomarkers. We have the LIFE study, which is trying to investigate physical fitness and brain health and how that might confer resilience to cognitive decline and to the Alzheimer's pathology. We have studies like the STRIDE study and the EMO study, which are measuring stress and emotion regulation in brain health. And these are important partnering studies with RAP because we know that all aspects of mental and physical health are important for brain health as we age. We have the STAR study, which is out of the School of Nursing, where we're examining medical illnesses and surgery histories and anesthesia types and how these might affect cognitive trajectories. And we have the neighborhood study, which is looking at social determinants of health, including everything from school quality to access to health care to the density of the population and the other resources available in a particular neighborhood. And all of these studies together are very critical in helping us understand resilience and risk for developing Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. I want to thank you for thinking about biomarkers in this video with me, and just to reiterate, we talked about MRI, which is an indicator of vascular disease and overall brain health. We talked about amyloid scans and tau scans as indicators of the Alzheimer's pathology, and we talked about the fact that these things happen many years before the symptoms do, and therefore it's really important in a study of Alzheimer's disease to know which of our participants have these pathologies in their brain. And so we hope you'll think about participating in our biomarker studies, either the imaging studies or the lumbar puncture, spinal fluid donation studies, or both, and because we know that this will greatly enhance the other information that you provide to the study. So in the next few videos, we'll be talking in more detail about the lumbar puncture procedure and why it's important. We'll also talk about the brain donation initiative that we have going, because we know having the brain at the end of life is so useful in understanding what pathology was present in the brain, and if so, how much, and what else might have been present, whether it was just Alzheimer's or whether other causes of neurodegeneration were also involved. Well, I want to thank you again for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one, and hope to see you again soon. Thank you.